Hey y'all. Today I just wanted to talk about Kirby and the Forgotten Land. Most of this I'm going to do from memory. This is just me going down memory lane. It's not necessarily a traditional review. But really what made this game so special to me is that I got to play it, 2 years ago I got to play it with my little sister. And I really enjoyed this game because of that couch co-op aspect. Because I feel like couch co-op is an element to gaming that's been kind of lost. That's been kind of undervalued. Because most of the time when we're playing with our friends, we're playing online rather than next to each other. And it's just really a treat to get to be able to play a game with someone next to you, especially like a family member or a close friend. And that special feeling, that enjoyable feeling, it just makes the game so much better, and it really just can't be replicated in any other way. As far as the co-op in this game goes, Kirby is really the one that's going to have all of the special abilities and, the ability to copy enemies' abilities, right? Whereas the second player doesn't get a whole lot of access to any special abilities. They just kind of have their basic movement, their basic attacks, and that's more or less it for him. So it's always best to have the first player be a more experienced player and then have the second player be, someone who's probably a little bit less experienced. So, if someday I'm ever blessed enough to have young children, I could see myself playing this game with like a son or daughter and just, letting them play as the second player essentially. Now, pretty much everybody already knows this, but this is the first 3D Kirby game. Or to be more specific, this is the first 3D Kirby game that is not a side-scroller because, as far as I know, all the previous games you could really only go from left to right. Whereas in this game, you have free range of movement. You can go anywhere that you want for the most part. Now, as far as my past with Kirby games, I haven't played all of them. I played a good number of them. I played a few on the GBA and the SNES. But I think the one that was the most memorable to me of the ones that I played was Kirby Triple Deluxe on the 3DS. And if you can ever get your hands on a copy of that game, it's definitely worth trying out. I've also heard very good things about a Kirby 3DS game called Planet Robobot. And I've always wanted to play it, but I've just never managed to get my hands on it. So those two I would recommend, one based off of personal experience, but the second based off of, word of mouth. I would say overall, with all of the Kirby games that I had played in the past, this one was the most enjoyable, the most fun, the most engaging. Beating the game, like just getting from beginning to end, is fairly easy. It's fairly casual. It's going to be a chill time. But if you want to be challenged, or if you find this game a little bit too easy, really what you want to aim for is that 100% completion rate. And really, the only thing that's the most challenging is some of the boss battles, a few of the extra challenges that they give for some of the levels. But honestly, for the most part, this game was pretty casual, pretty fun. I would recommend playing it. If you haven't played it already, check this one out. If you haven't played any Kirby game, I would easily say personally that I think this is the best one. I think it's the most enjoyable, and I definitely would recommend that you try it out. Now, is this game worth 100% completing? And I would say overall, I would definitely recommend it, especially if you're a more experienced player. If you're a casual, it might not be worth your time to complete it 100%, but I do think for the vast majority of gamers, I would personally recommend you complete this game. Go for that 100%. There's a lot of satisfying aspects to this game. In this game, you can actually upgrade a lot of your abilities, a lot of your copy abilities. And every time that you upgrade them, usually the ability gets stronger, or it gets like a secondary effect. It gives you a sense of progress. It gives you a sense of personal growth as far as Kirby is concerned, right? That makes this game pretty enjoyable. I also think one of the more satisfying parts of this game is collecting all of the Waddle Dees. So essentially, all of the Waddle Dees have been captured. They're stuck in these cages, and when you get to the end of a level, you can set those Waddle Dees free, and then they come to the home base, the hometown, and they populate it and they build up that hometown, adding more features and adding more buildings to the area and developing the land more, right? And the music for the hometown starts off as pretty simple, pretty quiet, pretty basic. And then the more Waddle Dees that you get, the more developed that the land becomes, the more developed that the music becomes, the more features you unlock access to, the more buildings you unlock access to. And so it's really satisfying to see and to hear and to feel that progress through the hometown. And if you are going to go for 100%ing this game, I would recommend that you play this game in wild mode. Essentially, there's two difficulties in this game. The harder difficulty is wild mode, and it's really not even all that hard. The reward that you get for playing in wild mode is that you get more currency, and you're going to need that currency in order to collect all of the figurines, which are part of your completion rate. So would definitely recommend that you try this game in wild mode, especially if you're going to go for that 100%. The music in this game, honestly, pretty much all of the music in this game is pretty enjoyable. A lot of it's very upbeat, a lot of it's adventurous. My personal favorite track in this game, and I had the privilege of hearing this song before I even played the game. I think that speaks to how good the song is, because every now and then a game will come out, people will listen to a song on YouTube, that song will get millions of views, and then it'll get recommended to people who have played the game and people who are gamers that might be interested. So one of the first songs I've heard before even playing this game was the King DDD Battle Remix, which I believe is called The Roar of DDD. And it's really good. It's excellent. It's kind of like a Super Smash Bros. Theme for King DDD. And it's really good. If you haven't heard it, I would definitely recommend that you go and listen to it. And of course, the main theme, a lot of the themes in the main theme, very fun, very adventurous, very happy, joyful, and whimsical. Overall, it's just a good time. Now, usually when I talk about a game, I would talk about the story. There is some story in this game, but it's not particularly, no one really plays a Kirby game for the story, That's not to say that Kirby doesn't have lore, but, I'm not, me personally, I'm not really playing a Kirby game for the story. I'm playing it just for the enjoyability of, running through the levels. I will talk about one thing, just kind of as a spoiler, kind of, right? So if you haven't played this game, maybe just kind of, go play the game, enjoy it. And then maybe if you really want to come back, that would be really nice. But I'm going to talk about a very brief detail about the ending, all right? At the end of the game, when you're fighting the final boss, me and my sister, we were fighting the final boss. I was having a decent struggle with it. Not a huge struggle, just, it was pretty tough. Not super tough. And it gets really ridiculous because, you kind of have this. The Kirby games like to do the, it's a spaghetti monster and he's come from the heavens and he's gonna destroy the whole planet. That's kind of what a lot of Kirby games do. And this game kind of does that too, honestly. And so you're fighting this huge, monstrous, almost godlike, angelic being, and it's this epic, terrifying battle. And then out of nowhere, this big old semi-truck comes out of nowhere. You swallow it whole effectively, right? You become the semi-truck. And you just start beelining and speeding towards the final boss, and you just ram into them. And I remember when I first experienced all of that, I was like, what in the world is going on? What is happening? And I was just laughing. I laughed my head off. I'm pretty sure it was just a completely goofy end battle, but it's awesome and it's epic and it's enjoyable and it's memorable. It's pretty much just the developers being like, let's just have fun with this. Let's just be goofy about it. Become the semi-truck and just ram into the final boss. And it was just a really fun and good time. Now, pretty much everything that I've just said is pretty much from memory. I did a little bit of research, but, this was all pretty much from memory. And it's not a traditional review in the sense. I just wanted to talk about this game, have some fun going down memory lane. It's been 2 years since I beat this game, and I still think about it pretty fondly, so I think that says a lot about the quality of this game. I do want to make 2 shout-outs, so to speak, right? Just speaking to the quality of 2 separate occasions. On YouTube, there's a channel, a YouTuber, his name is AntDude, and he made a really good review of this game, because I saw a few reviews. There are quite a few pretty good ones. I watched Video Game Donkeys, I watched Arlo's. And that's usually what I do before I start a review. I like to go back and see what people have said about this game. But I thought AntDude's review of this game was particularly excellent because he's a big Kirby fan. He's played a lot of the Kirby games. He really enjoys that character and those games. And he talks a lot about some of the Easter eggs that are in this game. A lot of references, a lot of secrets. And I thought it was a very well done video. So I would just recommend, go and give that video a watch. Go support him. Additionally, I also wanted to bring attention to the fact that there's a Demake, there's a fan-made project that you can play. It's, it only takes about 3 minutes, probably less than 3 minutes to beat. You can play kind of like a NES inspired version of this game. It's on Newgrounds. I'll put a link in the description so you can check it out if you want. But yeah, you can basically play an NES version of the first level, and it's pretty fun. It's pretty good, Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you got something good out of it. Hope that it was entertaining. Consider subscribing to the channel, maybe dropping a like or a comment, sharing, all that fun stuff helps out with the algorithm, helps support my work, and I really would appreciate it. But only if you feel, inclined to do so. Y'all have an excellent day. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you all later. Take care.